Meantime, today I want to talk with you about the pressure cooker that we live in. And this really has nothing to do with the tough circumstances that we live in diaspora. But nearly the majority of folks I talk to who leave Africa and live outside Kenya literally live in pressure cookers every single day. And I'm going to tell you all about it in about 10 minutes. The first pressure that folks feel is the need to meet the expectations of people living at home. And in your head, you're thinking, I need to be like them. And you don't realize what it took to get there. And it took there people who are very highly skilled. How are you guys doing this morning? Now, if you know, you know. I'm going to show you something. This thing right here is fantastic. It's called Rude. Growing up as a kid, everybody would be going for this thing, right? So if you found it, it was good luck, but we just loved finding this thing. If you know, you know. You'd have to be a villager to know what that is. I'm talking about this one on top here. So for now, this is going to be part of my breakfast. I'm going to have a little bit of rabo. Yes, Mama. Huh? It's your night. Yes, but before I do that, hang on a second. All right, guys, so sorry for the interruption. Welcome back to Wonodede. It's an incredible morning in the village. Typically, I like filming in the morning because this is one of the few times I can talk to you before I head out to my construction sites. I'm usually gone almost 6 or 7 days a week, doing something with returnees somewhere. And so on a day like this, I'm probably going to stick around for the most part in the morning. And then I'll be out there in the afternoon. So I see I've not picked fruits in 2 days, so I need to pick up a few things. Probably we have pawpaws and all that. But in the meantime, today I want to talk with you about the pressure cooker that we live in. And this really has nothing to do with the tough circumstances that we live in diaspora. But nearly the majority of folks I talk to who leave Africa and live outside Kenya literally live in pressure cookers every single day. And I'm going to tell you all about it in about 10 minutes. But as we do that, if you're new to our channel, this is Wonodede. I'm joining you from Karating, Kisumu Karating, the village. But I still go back and forth between Western Kenya in Karating and Long Beach, California. But this is our home. My home is right behind me here. And I'm getting into my brother's home. And both of these properties were built by my teams. So if you're looking for builders, architects, and people who know how to build stuff like this, my number is here. Reach me out. Reach out. We'll be happy to help where we can. But as we do that, I just noticed we have some ripe pawpaws that I need to take. By the way, here, if I take like 2 to 3 days without picking fruits, the next thing I know, our faithful birds are out here. Oh, and somebody's actually picked one. I just saw one not too long, and it looks like somebody's picked it. And let me take this one because otherwise I'm going to forget, and the birds are going to do their thing, which again we don't mind. It just so happens that we like to share, meaning that. All right, guys, I was out there getting the pawpaws for the morning, and somehow my camera fell off my tripod, and so that interrupted the video. But anyway, let's talk about the pressure cooker that diasporans often have to deal with moving abroad. Now, many of you already know that folks move abroad for all kinds of reasons. Most of us move obviously for different opportunities. You can think of it as better opportunities, but I always say we move abroad for different opportunities. And some people come from well-to-do families. I have friends who come from very rich families. And their experiences living abroad is nothing compared to people like us. However, many of us, at least in my circle, come from families where the journey to diaspora comes through a lot of sacrifice, especially financial sacrifice. And so once we move to diaspora, we often have to deal with a ton of issues, which almost makes living in diaspora feel like you are in a pressure cooker. So the first pressure that folks feel is the need to meet the expectations of people living at home. And oftentimes, when you have family members or friends who've never lived outside Kenya, what they think diaspora really is often very different than what the reality looks like. And so when folks move abroad, the first pressure they will have is you hear families ask them, I don't see you coming home when so-and-so's child is traveling. So they keep asking them, I see, you don't ever come back home. When my neighbor's children are coming, all these people are coming, what's wrong with you? And oftentimes there are many things you can't explain. First of all, traveling to Africa is very expensive. You have no idea how much it costs to travel, especially when you're traveling during peak seasons like summer or when you're traveling in December. And then added to that, think about somebody who has like 4 kids. So you've got 6 tickets to be bought. And sometimes, I remember this one time I spent maybe $3,000 on just one ticket. That was a last minute ticket when I just had my brother's funeral. But flying out of LAX to Nairobi, typically you're looking at anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 on average. But people who live in smaller cities actually pay way more in tickets. And so when you have a family of 6 and you're buying tickets for all 6 to and fro, the ticket alone could cost you close to $10,000 or more. So there are people who would wish to come back home and visit the same way we do, but the cost is just astronomical, just on traveling alone. And remember, when we travel, it's not just the tickets. It's the travel cost and also the expectations that when you come, you're bringing gifts. Sometimes you'll see people telling you, oh, bring me a laptop, bring me perfume. What other thing is common? It's usually laptop, perfume, phones, and things like that. While it's true that electronics are usually far cheaper in the US than they are here at home, but can you imagine buying laptops for people, bringing phones, and then when you get to the airport, the tax guys are waiting for you to terrorize you. So that expectations that you brought stuff from the US also adds more pressure to it. And then, of course, once you get home, you're going to be spending. You're literally spending the entire time and not making money at that time. And so the cost of just coming to visit can be really astronomical. So there are many, many people who want to come, but that's not always possible just when you're looking at the finances only, even when they have papers. So that pressure from the family where they are always constantly asking, why don't you come? Why don't you come? I see the neighbor's children are coming. I see so-and-so coming. Why don't you come? Can be really tough on people. Because there are some things that you can't explain to your family at home. And so that's pressure number one. The second pressure, those who move when they're young, there's always that pressure for them to show that they have succeeded, whatever version of success that is, where you see people who have been abroad for a long time, being able to do things here and there, especially when you talk about real estate and supporting families. And then you have these young folks who have just moved. They're barely surviving. And their families expect them immediately to be able to handle their financial responsibilities. They expect these young people to send money home, to buy land, to do all these things that you see people do. When the truth is, there are many, many people in diaspora who live right on the margins. Financially, they're barely making it. But of course, there's always an assumption that if you're in diaspora, you must be doing well. Not realizing that, no, many of us are barely making it. And in fact, when people are able to do stuff, it often takes a lot of sacrifice to make that happen. So please, I would like to say that if your family member, if you have a family member who just moved to diaspora, I ask, the first couple of years, please give them peace. Because financially, a lot of them, not all of them, of course, financially, many of them are really tight. Because in abroad, of course, they have a lot of financial responsibilities and their earnings at that time may be tight. And so I always say that the first couple of years, please be kind. Don't put too much pressure on them. But unfortunately, that option is not always there because some of us, when we leave, they actually do fundraising. They sell property. They do so much so that by the time you arrive abroad, the family is already in intense debt. And those debts need to be paid. And the families don't want to know what your circumstances are. As far as they're concerned, they want you to be sending money back at home. So all I say is, if you have a son or a child who just left for abroad, whatever that may be, it doesn't have to be America, whether it's some of these Arabian states, somewhere within Africa, the first couple of years I ask, please, whatever you do, just slow down. Don't put too much financial pressure on them. And some of it is actually put on them by family, but others we put on ourselves. Because I remember when I first moved to the US, I walked in and then I see people with massive homes. You see big cars, you see people with all kinds of things. And in your head, you're thinking, I need to be like them. And you don't realize what it took to get there. And it took, there are people who are very highly skilled and make serious money in the US. They're comfortable. Or the people who do business. And Kenyan businessmen that I know, business women I know, many of them make good income and they can do a whole lot. So when you're still new and you see all of these things and you're thinking, I should be getting X, Y, Z. So then you're putting too much pressure on you. And by the way, a lot of what you see as having in terms of homes, cars, and all most of that is debt. I wouldn't say most of that, but a lot of that is debt. I personally cannot afford to go buy a house cash anywhere in the US. Some Kenyans can do that. I know Kenyans who have serious money. They can just walk in, buy cash, and they're done. And also, it depends on where you live. In California, especially where I live, right by the beach, is something else. Some of these small states, rural areas, you can find relatively affordable homes at a decent rate and all that. But in California or some of these places like New York, I would say Washington is also not very cheap. Hawaii, those places are expensive. So a lot of what you see as having in terms of homes, cars, and all that, it's debt. But to be able to afford that debt too, you also have to have a good credit history. Because people with good credit history can pretty much walk in and walk away with almost anything. For the most part, although within certain parameters. So there's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves, but a lot of it comes from home as well. And then for single people, the pressure is this high when it comes to expectations of starting a family. Because typically, an average Kenyan is expected to partner up in their 20s, latest early 30s. Oh, something is probably peeing on me right here. I don't know what it is. But yeah, well, but that's just nature. So for young people, the pressure is on finding partners. So when you're taking too long, you start getting questions that what's wrong with so-and-so, what's wrong with so-and-so. But I'm telling you, the first couple of years when you're still really surviving, dating is probably not on top of your priority unless dating becomes a means of survival. But just dating for the sake of dating really is not a priority because you have so many other things to worry about that dating is not a priority. So the pressure is usually intense for some people where you ask, especially if you're firstborn. There's always questions about why are you not dating? Why are you not bringing somebody home? So that can really make life difficult. And then, of course, pressures related to education. Kenyans love education. Whatever it is that gives you as many degrees as possible, we will push it. In some spaces where we live, if you have a single PhD, then you are required to sit by the door because that's not enough. So you got to have more degrees. That's just how it is in some of these places, not everywhere in Kenya. There are places where just having one PhD is not enough. So the pressure to be as educated as possible can be really intense. So all of this put together often translates to a lot of mental health amongst our community members. Many of us deal with mental health of all kinds of types, whether you're talking about serious anxiety, depression, and things like that. But of course, as an African man, those are things that we often don't talk about. In my mother tongue, we simply say you die busy. You're depressed, but you don't, and sometimes you don't even realize you're depressed. So all I say is that diaspora can be a big pressure cooker for many of us, not because of the things that happen in diaspora, because the pressure coming from home, expectations through the roof, constant comparison, where you're expected to be like the next person, and not realize that everybody has their own pathway. And so all I ask is if you have family members living abroad, whatever you do, please just be supportive. The pressure just often makes things worse. Well, thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next. Bye.